Did the building send the wrong person again? This meeting is for staff, not for whoever empties the bins after we leave. The words landed in a room of 17 people, and not one of them looked up. Preston Vance let the silence hang the way a man hangs a coat he is proud of. He was standing at the head of the glass conference table on the 41st floor of Hartwell Dynamics, the defense and aerospace firm whose logo was etched into every wall, every mug, every badge. The young man in the doorway wore a gray polo and held a folded laptop against his chest. There was a smudge of ceiling dust on his sleeve from the supply closet he had just left. Preston saw the smudge. He pointed at it with his coffee cup, and then, slowly, he tipped the cup, and a thin brown line of coffee ran down onto the carpet between them. "Since you're here," he said, "make yourself useful." The young man did not flinch. He looked at the spreading stain, and then he looked at Preston. And the only thing that moved on his face was a small muscle along his jaw. He set his laptop down on a side cabinet, found the paper towels by the credenza without being told where they were, and knelt on the carpet to blot the coffee while the meeting started above his bent head. His name was Marcus Bell. He was 26 years old, and Preston Vance had exactly 11 minutes left of believing he ran that room. Nah, man, hold on. A second voice, easy and close, like a friend on the couch beside you. Did this man really look at that kid and see a mop? Look at his face, though. Marcus ain't even mad. That's the part that gets me. He's calm. Calm like he already knows something. Let's get into it. Marcus Bell grew up 40 minutes outside the city, in a narrow house with a porch that sagged on the left side, in a county where the bus came twice a day if it came at all. His grandmother raised him. Her name was Ruth, and she worked nights cleaning the regional hospital, and she came home smelling of bleach and peppermint candies. And she never once let him believe that the work that fed them was beneath them. The kitchen ceiling leaked when it rained. Ruth set a yellow bucket under the drip and called it the music, because the plink kept time, and she taught Marcus his multiplication tables to that rhythm at the kitchen table while the bucket filled. His father was gone before Marcus could remember his voice. What his father left behind was a steel toolbox, dented at one corner, with a strip of masking tape on the lid where a careful hand had written, in pencil that had nearly faded away, "Fix what you can, and the rest will keep." Marcus kept that toolbox under his bed for 19 years. He learned to use everything in it. He could rewire a lamp at 9. He could pull a transmission at 15. He could read a blueprint before he could afford a car. And he read everything. Because the library was free and the library was warm, and Ruth said a borrowed book was the only thing in the world you could keep by giving it back. What almost nobody at Hartwell Dynamics knew was this. Marcus Bell's father had not simply left a toolbox. His father had spent the last working decade of his life building, from a leased garage and a single contract, the components company that quietly supplied the precision actuators in nearly every system Hartwell Dynamics sold. He died before it was worth anything. Then it became worth a great deal. By the time Marcus turned 25, the holding company that bore his father's initials had grown large enough and patient enough to buy the very firms that had once paid his father in 30-day terms and treated him like a vendor at a back door. Marcus had inherited control of all of it, and he had told no one at Hartwell, because he had decided that before he sat in any chair with his father's name on it, he would learn the building from the floor up. He took an internship under a false modest Ursum. He carried a mop when the maintenance crew was short, because the maintenance crew had been kind to him on his first day, and kindness was a debt he paid. He intended to spend 6 quiet months learning who at Hartwell deserved to keep their office. He was, at that moment, on day 51. The institution he had walked into was the kind of place that polished its own reflection. Hartwell Dynamics had a 40-story tower with its name in brushed steel, a lobby with a real Calder mobile turning slowly in the air conditioning, and a culture that measured a person in the first 3 seconds by their shoes, their watch, and the confidence of their handshake. It was a place built to make some people feel they belonged, and others feel they had snuck in. Preston Vance ran the Defense Systems Division like a private kingdom, and he had run it that way for 9 years. And in those 9 years, a quiet stack of complaints about him had been filed, reviewed, and slid into a folder marked resolved, no further action needed. The first time Preston humiliated Marcus, it was small enough to deny. Marcus had submitted a memo, unsigned by request, flagging a tolerance error in a guidance assembly. The math was correct. Preston read it aloud to the team in a sweet, mocking voice, the voice of a man reading a child's letter to Santa. "Somebody in the building thinks they caught us," he said. "Somebody who watches a lot of documentaries." The team laughed because the team always laughed. Marcus said nothing. He pressed his thumb into his own palm until the half-moon of his nail left a white crescent, and he let it go. The second time, Preston assigned him to fetch lunch for the division leads, 11 orders, and made him recite them back from memory in front of the floor, and when Marcus got all 11 right, Preston said, "See, there's a job he can do." A woman near the window, an engineer named Diane, looked at the floor and did not lift her eyes. A security guard by the elevator studied his own clipboard. The carpet between them all stayed very clean. Marcus carried the lunches. He set each one down gently. He did not spill a single drink. The third time was not small, and it could not be fully denied. But it was done in a way that left Preston a door to walk back through. There was a junior analyst named Toby, eager and soft and desperate to be liked, and Preston had taught Toby that the fastest way up was to laugh at whoever was down. Toby took Marcus's access badge from the charging tray as a joke and dropped it in the office shredder, and the shredder ate it. And when Marcus could not get into the secure lab to finish a calibration, Preston filed a note that the intern was unreliable and lacked initiative. Marcus rebuilt the calibration by hand from memory that night, alone after the cleaning crew had gone, with his father's toolbox open on the lab bench because the building set was locked away. He fixed what he could. The rest, he decided, would keep. Yo, see, this is the part where I gotta pause. The friend again, lower now, no laughter in it. Because I have been Toby. Right? Some of us have been the one laughing because we were scared not to. And I have been Marcus, fixing the thing nobody thanked me for. The shredder thing, man. That's not a prank. That's a man teaching a boy to be cruel for sport. Watch what it costs him. The fourth incident moved the cruelty up the stairs into the open. Hartwell hosted a quarterly client showcase, an event where the division leads walked admirals and procurement officers through the year's wins, and the lobby was strung with light and the Calder mobile turned over flutes of champagne. Marcus was there to manage the demonstration units, the actual hardware, because he understood the hardware better than anyone in the building, though no one had let themselves notice. Preston, 3 drinks warm and performing for a 2-star general, decided to make a moment. He clapped Marcus on the shoulder in front of the general and said, "This is our diversity story. We pulled him off the night crew, wipes the floors, learns the company. We love an underdog at Hartwell." The general smiled politely. Marcus stood very still. His grandmother had taught him that there is a kind of stillness that is not weakness, that there is a way to hold yourself that costs your enemy more than any shout. He held himself that way. He felt the heat climb his neck, and he did not let it reach his face. Across the lobby, a server named Olivia, who had refilled the same table 4 times and watched the whole arc of the evening, quietly turned her phone so the lens caught the room, and she kept it running. And then Preston made the mistake that he would spend the rest of his life explaining to people who no longer respected him. He needed the showcase unit to run. It would not start. Marcus reached past him to correct the input sequence, the way only Marcus could, and Preston, embarrassed in front of the general by a man in a gray polo, swept his arm across the table and sent the demonstration tablet to the marble floor, where it cracked, and he said, loud enough that the Calder mobile seemed to stop turning, "Don't you touch my equipment. You don't even belong in this room. You're a janitor playing dress-up. Get out before I have you removed." The room went quiet in the specific way a room goes quiet when everyone has seen something they will have to pretend they did not see. Marcus bent and picked up the cracked tablet. He set it on the table, face up, screen spidered with white lines. He looked at it for one long moment. Then he straightened his collar, the way Ruth had taught him to straighten it before church. And he walked out of the lobby with his back as straight as a plumb line, And he did not say one word. He didn't say nothing, the friend whispered. He just fixed his collar and walked. And I'm sitting here like, Marcus, say something, defend yourself. But that's the whole thing, isn't it? He doesn't have to. Because in about 2 minutes, somebody else is going to say it for him. And it's going to be so much worse for Preston than anything Marcus could have said. The morning of the board meeting was gray and wet. Marcus had asked Eleanor Cross to come a week earlier than planned. Eleanor Cross was 61 years old, silver at the temples, and she had been his father's first partner. The woman who held the holding company together through the lean years and never sold a share, the executor of the estate and the only living person besides Ruth who knew the whole of who Marcus was. She arrived at Hartwell Dynamics at 9 in the morning, and she did not arrive alone. Down on the wet street, one after another. 5 black cars slid to the curb in front of the lobby's revolving doors. From them came the holding company's board, the general counsel, the chief financial officer, and a court reporter with a stenotype machine in a hard case. The Calder mobile turned over their heads as they crossed the marble. The doorman, who knew Marcus only as the quiet intern who fixed the loading dock gate when it stuck, watched the procession and could not have told you why his heart was beating faster. Eleanor Cross walked into the 41st floor conference room while Preston was mid-sentence, complaining about the cost of the crack demonstration unit and recommending the intern be let go for insubordination. She did not knock. She set a leather folder on the glass table and the room turned to her, and Preston, who measured everyone in 3 seconds, measured her and decided she was someone's lawyer, someone he could charm. "You'll want to wrap this up," she said. Hartwell Dynamics was acquired at midnight. The transaction closed. "I'm here on behalf of the new controlling shareholder who is in the building and who would like to address the room." Preston laughed. It was a reflex, the laugh of a man who has never once had the floor taken from under him. "And who," he said, "is the new owner? Should I roll out a chair?" "He's already in the room," Eleanor said. "He has been for 51 days." The door opened and Marcus Bell walked in. He was not wearing the gray polo. He wore a plain dark suit, well cut. The kind of suit that does not announce itself, and on his wrist was an old watch with a cracked face that had been his father's, and in his hand he carried the dented steel toolbox, set it on the credenza by the door, and left it there like a flag planted on a hill. He did not raise his voice. He did not need to. Eleanor Cross did the speaking, because the man who has been wronged does not announce his own power, he lets the record do it, and the record is louder than any man. "This is Marcus Bell," Eleanor said. "He is the sole heir and controlling owner of the holding company that, as of midnight, owns Hartwell Dynamics. The actuator systems in 19 of your 22 flagship products were designed by his late father. Mr. Bell elected to spend the last several weeks observing this division from the inside, without title, to determine how its leadership treats the people with the least power in the building. He has his answer." The color did not drain from Preston's face all at once. It went in stages, the way water leaves a glass you tip slowly. He looked at the gray polo he had mocked, and then at the dark suit, and the two images would not fit together in his head. "That's not," he started. "He was on the night crew. I have it documented. He's unreliable. The calibration, the badge. The badge that your analyst destroyed in a shredder," Eleanor said, and she opened the leather folder. "We have that on the lobby camera. We have the calibration Mr. Bell rebuilt by hand at 2 in the morning, which passed federal tolerance by a margin none of your salaried engineers has matched in 3 years. And we have 11 prior complaints against you going back 9 years, every one of them filed under resolved, no further action needed. Would you like me to read the names? Some of them are still in this building, some of them you forced out. Read 'em," the friend breathed. "Read every single one." The general counsel slid a second folder across the glass. Diane, the engineer who had stared at the floor during the lunch order, looked up now, and her hand had come to her mouth, because one of those 11 complaints was hers, filed 4 years ago, and she had been told it went nowhere, and here it was, in a folder, in a room, no longer nowhere. The security guard who had studied his clipboard at the elevator stood a little straighter against the wall. Toby the analyst had gone very white and was looking at the door as if measuring the distance. The board acted in real time, because Marcus had instructed them to, because he wanted the room to watch the machinery of consequence turn while it was still warm. The chief financial officer announced that the showcase the previous week had cost Hartwell its largest pending contract. The two-star general had filed a note about the conduct he witnessed in the lobby, and the procurement office had paused the award. The general counsel announced that Preston Vance was suspended without pay, effective immediately, pending a full review of 9 years of complaints, and that the two managers who had signed off on resolved no further action needed were suspended alongside him. Toby was placed on administrative leave. The room did not gasp. The room simply watched, the way you watch a tide come in over sand you thought was dry. And then Marcus spoke, for the first time, and he spoke only once. He walked to the head of the table, to the place where Preston had stood when he tipped the coffee onto the carpet, and he looked at the man, and there was no triumph in his face, only something heavier and quieter, something closer to grief. "My father fixed your machines for 30-day terms," he said. "He came in the back. You never learned his name. He used to say, 'Fix what you can, and the rest will keep.' He let the words settle. 'I can't fix you, so you'll keep.'" He turned to Eleanor. "There's one more thing," he said. "Before he goes." Eleanor nodded. "Mr. Vance," she said, "you will deliver a statement of apology. To Mr. Bell and to every member of the maintenance and service staff whose names you never bothered to learn. In front of this room. On the record. The reporter will take it down." Preston's mouth worked. The man who had filled silences for 9 years could not find a single word to fill this one. What finally came out was small and reluctant, and so inadequate that it became its own kind of confession. "I'm sorry," he said, "if I came across as harsh. I can be very, very direct. I'm told I'm a very determined leader." That was the word he chose. Determined. He apologized for being determined. The court reporter's machine clicked. Diane laughed once, a short stunned sound, and put her hand back over her mouth. Olivia the server, who had been quietly asked to attend, played 11 seconds of her video on her phone, just enough for the room to hear Preston's own voice say, "You're a janitor playing dress-up, get out before I have you removed." And then she put the phone away, and the silence after it was the loudest thing in the building. "Determined," the friend said, and you could hear him shaking his head. 9 years of running that floor like a king, and the best he can do is determined. That apology is going to follow him into every job interview he ever sits in. That clip right there, that's the whole internet by lunchtime. The aftermath reached further than the one man, the way water finds every low place. Within 3 months, the review Eleanor opened turned up a pattern that cost Preston Vance more than his title. The paused federal contract was canceled outright when the procurement office finished reading the lobby footage and the buried complaints, and the loss of it ended the division as Preston had built it. He was not merely fired. He was named in the internal report, and the report was lawful to share with the agencies Hartwell did business with, and a man whose entire value had been his confidence discovered that confidence is worth nothing once the room has heard you apologize for being determined. The two managers who had stamped resolved on 9 years of pain were demoted and then quietly let go. Toby the analyst was not fired. Marcus, who remembered being a frightened young man trying to survive a building, gave him one chance. A transfer to a team led by Diane, with a note that said people can be taught the other thing too. Toby took it and wept at his desk and became in time one of the people who filed complaints rather than buried them. Diane was promoted to lead the division. The first policy she wrote, with Marcus's signature beside hers, required that every complaint be reviewed by 2 people who did not report to the person named in it. The folder marked resolved, no further action needed, was retired. The maintenance and service staff, the people whose names Preston never learned, received back pay, a raise, and an actual place at the quarterly showcase with their names on the program. The doorman who had felt his heart race learned finally why, 6 months after the gray and rainy morning, Marcus Bell stood in the lobby of Hartwell Dynamics beneath the slowly turning Calder mobile, and beside him stood Ruth. She had come up in the first of the 5 cars that day and watched the whole thing from a chair in the corner that nobody had thought to question, and she had not said a word either, because she had taught him where the strength in silence lives. Now she wore a blue dress and held her purse with both hands, and inside that purse, folded soft from years of folding, was a faded science fair ribbon from a county middle school 3rd place and a strip of masking tape with the words "Fix What You Can" in pencil that had nearly faded away. On the wall behind them, where the brushed steel logo had been, there was a new line of letters, and they spelled the name of Marcus's father because Marcus had renamed the building. And in the lobby, bolted to the marble beside the elevators where the security guard once studied his clipboard, there was a bronze plaque. It marked the founding of the Bell Trades and Engineering Scholarship, funded by the entire settlement Hartwell would have owed Marcus for the way he was treated, every dollar of it redirected, not one kept. Sending kids from counties where the bus comes twice a day to study the work his father did in a leased garage. The first class was 40 students. One of them had grown up with a yellow bucket under a leak in the kitchen, keeping time. Ruth touched the plaque with 2 fingers, the way you touch something you are not sure is real, and she pressed both hands to her chest. And she let the tears run down without wiping them, and Marcus put his arm around his grandmother and held her while the mobile turned slow and bright above them both. Man, the friend, quiet now, all the joke gone out of him, just a person who had felt something. I'm not going to lie to you. This story is fiction. Marcus isn't real. Preston isn't real. None of these exact people sat in that exact room. But you know what is real? The Prestons are real. The folder marked "Resolved, no further action needed," that is real, and some of you have a copy of yours in a drawer right now. And the Ruths are real, the ones who came home smelling like bleach and never once let you believe the work was beneath you. And the toolbox with the faded tape, somebody out there has it under their bed tonight. So let me ask you this, and I want you to answer honest, in the comments where I can see it. When you've been in that room, the one where everybody's looking at the floor, which one were you? The one looking down? Or the one keeping their collar straight? But there's a true one. Tell me. And if this story moved something in you, if you've ever been the quiet one in the gray polo who knew something the loud man didn't, do me a favor. Hit that like button so the algorithm shows this to somebody who needs it tonight. Drop a comment and tell me your room. Share this with the person you were thinking about the whole time you watch. And subscribe, because next time, the limos pull up for somebody you're really not going to see coming. We'll get into it then.